My dog is going to try these.
Here we are, everyone. Here we are. Back at the wonderful start. I say the start. This is hardly the start anymore, but we have our new coterie member who's going to be introduced today. That's going to be our sweet, delightful, so very trustworthy Lorenzo Agostino. That man. In due time. Quick recap. Excuse me. Our last session, we ended off with the coterie being given leave to stay in Sardes by Kishnik and his delightful lord, using the lord more as a puppet than anything. However, they do seem to have some loyalty to each other, even if only for the opportunity. In that stead, some interesting things happened. The coterie did end up finding where our delightful murderer was, Sir Bautier. They found where his home is said to be, and likely that's where he was. But they came to the conclusion that they probably don't really have a reason to solve this. They know who did it, so if they absolutely have to, they can bring it up as, leverage. They have some pretty... maybe not proof in terms of here we have, fingerprints, but proof in terms of all of them have seen something or heard something or been privy to information of what Sir Bautier did. However, Corbus acknowledged that Lord DeFiro of Marina is not the most stable of individuals, and was willing to work with Kishnik on various fronts to ensure the longevity of the Isle, at least on the surface. In truth, Corbus is doing what he's supposed to be doing and trying to get everyone off the damn island. While Corbus was having his delightful conversation, Eudocia and Harald were privy to an assortment of events, namely the sword that Harald took from Constantinople during their introductory period, when they were first embraced, and tried to set it upon a holy altar, to which the altar, made of stone, caught fire and incinerated itself, and in doing so, a chorus of fowl were instantaneously killed in a circle around the temple. It has since been wrapped by Corbus in holy symbolism, as well as a sash of sorts, to ensure that its perpetual aura does not overly afflict anyone or tempt them to use it further or potentially weaken its seal of whatever is inside. All in all, trying to keep it away. The coterie is under the impression, at the very least, and of what Corbus knows, that this holy seal he has placed upon it is a fairly temporary thing, as it will eventually either decay away or lose its effect, or it might very well, as the altar did, catch fire. It's unclear, but who knows. The coterie decided to take the opportunity to spend the day in Sardes and rest. They wake this evening with a mild freshness, but probably more so a slight agitation. A runner has come to their to them one of Kishnik's men with a letter from a separate runner who sent this out due to two of their sires, well, three if you count Ariadne. They are being requested by Dominique not to linger in Sardes or McCormick's territory for too long. It bodes ill for a certain lord's ego if they think that you are ploying against him. So, with that said, to avoid immediate conflict, it's likely suggested that the coterie make their way back to Marina, though they are perfectly allowed to stop in places should they desire. Spend your blood for the evening, yourself as well, Lorenzo. You spend, just as a reminder to those watching, as well as Lorenzo, the newer player, you spend a blood each evening to essentially reanimate your body.
Blood has been spent.
Excellent. Just a mechanic to ensure people are actually feeding. Corbus, you and the rest of the coterie have gathered, likely at the beckoning of the letter itself, and now you're left with your evening. You likely will need to go back to Marina at some point, but what does the rest of the coterie think? Do they want to head back, or do they want to go talk to the McCormicks and potentially anger the good Lord DeFiro?
Corbus had made it quite clear his original strategy, and I believe Lord Kishnik had agreed that if he could get the Cormicks willing to parlay, he would be willing to tolerate his idea in greater detail. So that is his intention, to set forth to speak to the Cormicks in Plaka and try to get them to agree to a meeting of the powers between themselves and Kishnik to speak about the future of their isle.
Very well. Then do you...
And a future without Lord DeFiro, of course.
Do you, or at the very least enough chaos that no one notices your ship leaving the island.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you going to broach this to the coterie specifically?
Of course. So if you want, I can do it in character. Otherwise, it's a very pointed admittance to them that they have no leverage over Lord DeFiro at the moment. As in, they have no leverage that will assure their success. But what they do have is an in for his enemies through his villa and the guards of which he controls. Lord DeFiro, to put it very simply, his life, him continuing to be alive, or at least continuing to be in control, is in direct threat to their goals. So he's going to try to convince Kishnik and Cormac to team up to kill him. Whether or not they succeed is totally irrelevant. He just needs DeFiro focused on the problem. And if Kishnik and Cormac start bearing down on him, we can then leverage very pointedly. DeFiro, we're going to leave, or we're going to help them kill you. Basically putting into his position that he has no choice but to let us leave port, or he just won't have a say in us leaving. But either way, we will leave port. He just gets to decide if it will be his port we are leaving.
At the same time, perhaps it would be best if we did not overplay that hand. If we made it as much as possible a surprise to Lord DeFiro.
Oh, he has no plans of telling Lord DeFiro, until Lord Kishnik and Cormac are already in the house, so to speak.
But at the same time, Lord DeFiro might well suspect that we're plotting against him if we don't return to his territory tonight.
Lord DeFiro would probably suspect his own children of treason.
Kind of fair.
He's
That's
paranoid he's the paranoid to the point of delusion. But it also weakens him to real plots, because he spends so much of his unlife chasing shadows that he also has to, prevent himself from killing everyone who ever serves under him. He has to overcorrect too much, making him blind to real threats.
Then perhaps we should do what we can to make sure that this real threat does not appear as a real threat to him. Make it so that he looks at this group of us and just sees a vaguely connected group of fledglings, who have little in the way of a cooperative relationship with each other. Essentially what I'm suggesting is just one of us go back, at the very least.
Why not the two of you go back? And Corbus will handle this. Corbus is technically one of the military governors of the isle. He has reason to go to the other settlements. In an official capacity.
There's a point. Well, then I suppose the only question of the matter then is, who does Eudocia prefer to go with?
Roll hands down if she has to pick who she would want to go with. But God, my brain just shut off as soon as I started talking. Regardless, she's gonna go with Harald just because, she doesn't really want to tag along with Corbus just because she personally enjoys Harald's company more than Corbus's. And two, if the blame were to fall on anyone, she'd like it to not fall on her.
Also, if the blame falls on anybody, Corbus seems the one who is most likely to survive it because of his position.
Yeah.
If we're being just abundantly transparent with that.
He does have the most political pools, for the moment at least. That can always change as time goes on. That said, so Harald and Eudocia, as I understand it, are going to head back. Corbus is going to head eastward to the McCormicks. Is that correct?
Yep. The only other thing is we're going to get a bird, any old bird. We'll send it to a bird perch in Marina, where our ghoul will be instructed that basically the long story short is if Corbus is not there when it should be his awakening time in the evening, check the bird perch periodically. His ghoul also has animalism and can receive the verbatim message. So it's find a bird, convince the bird to go with the bird perch. Shouldn't be hard. It's a bird perch. Has bird food. And then all Mars will be able to receive the message and know what Corbus's will for his retainer is.
Sounds like a plan. Alright, so you two head down southwest, back to Marina. As you arrive, you are greeted at the... I mean, Marina doesn't exactly have like a gate, but it does have sort of a walled entryway for carts and caravans that is normally looked over and considered and, bartered, etc., etc. But in front of it, you instead find this man.
Oh boy.
He is standing there. He has a fairly cheerful smile on him, and he bows his head as you both approach. Sir Kroll and Lady Bringas. We have not formally met. I am Sir Walters. And he leans down and gives another bow at his own introduction. I have come to fetch you to alleviate Lord Defiro's anxieties. I expected you would come, should he only press your sire for your presence. Where is Lord Thornmere?
Lord Thornmore has business to attend to elsewhere in the Isles. As I understand it, he is planning to lead some sort of inquisition up into the northeast.
I will speak to him upon his return. I am most curious about that. The pagans there are of no honorable value, and simply serve the McCormicks as blind, hedonistic slaves. So, I hope he brings something back of value. However, please, let us go see Lord DeFiro before he grows more agitated with each breath we take. with each breath I take.
Yes.
And with that...
Agitation comes...
Go ahead.
Agitation comes easily to him, does it not?
Ever since... Not explicitly with your arrival, he says this and turns to start walking and talking.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since your arrival, rather the arrival of many from Constantinople, he has been on edge. It was an odd and very sudden transformation of the mind. Seeing him go from rather strong and independent of himself even, to quick to judge and sharp of tongue.
Curious.
He was always quite pointed in his speech, and with all respect, Sir Kroll, he would likely be of kin to you in that regard. Your presence irritates him in different ways, but he seeks to control more than he used to. I think the duties of assuming his own princedom as, well, not princedom. That would not be the word he uses. Assuming his own dominion over the entirety of the Isle would be... It has driven him to great lengths of stress.
And do you think he would be satisfied if he controlled the whole of the Isle?
There's a brief moment of pause from Sir Walters as he considers this. I think he would be sated for a moment, but I do not know how long that would be. If this is the new Lord Defiro that we are to know, then I think it would be safe to say that he will not be sated with just this isle, especially with how limiting it is for the likes of myself and others in lesser positions already, and its quickly declining economic and livelihood rates. It used to be a place of trade and some repute, but never a hub. It has become a hub when it was set as a resort.
Let me offer you this perspective then. Sir Walters.
He's listening.
Would one who is worthy of control of this isle not be capable of making this isle prosperous under its own merits?
Potentially.
To the point that this isle would be all they would need.
The implication being here that you think Lord Defiro might not be the right leader, and I would say be careful how you word such things. However, under more academic constructs here, the Isle was originally under governance from Athens proper, but we've heard little of what is even happening in Athens, let alone helping manage resources, and we get very few shipments from Athens now. If for nothing else, Constantinople still sits with rubble and ash as its main exports.
And Harald is going to reach out and just set a hand on Sir Walter's shoulder. It would seem to me that what this isle is most in need of, then, is a singular, strong presence that is intent on staying here.
Are you using powers?
No. I'm not
Okay.
using any kind of powers on this.
I just want to be sure.
I am just saying things and letting Sir Walters draw whatever conclusions he will from this. As a matter of fact, to point that in a little bit more direction, are you intent on staying here, Sir Walters?
Give me a manipulation leadership, please. Difficulty. Yes, difficulty 7. Because you're speaking definitely from the position of someone who's acting like they know what they're talking about. Whether you do or don't is irrelevant, but you're not explicitly lying to him. You're posing questions to him as if he is your inferior, which technically he is by most accounts. You have...
I think this one down here is the more pressing one.
Yes, I was looking for that one.
That does include eerie presence. I don't think he counts as a mortal. I think he's a ghoul.
He's still mortal. He's still mortal.
Still makes him mortal, yeah.
Fuck, alright.
No, it doesn't. Does it not apply to ghouls?
They often call out for flaws like that if it applies to mortals and ghouls both.
That is fair. They usually do that. Very well, then just keep the standard 7.
Oh, thank God.
What? You don't believe in yourself?
No, that was just... I don't necessarily believe in my ability to roll a success on 4 dice over 9.
Make sure you just click off of it whenever you set the difficulty. It was manipulation leadership, please.
Yeah, I do. I do this manually. I'm just thinking, do I want to spend a willpower on this?
Yes,
would-
because if it goes poorly,
This is his school. You do gain a willpower every evening.
Okay, so we did regain the willpower from the
Resting.
from the rest. Okay, so then I'm just gonna spend that willpower and not have to record that I got it back.
Alright.
Here we go.
Guaranteeing 1 success. Give me the roll. Hot
What in the world?
damn.
good job.
Okay,
Proud of
that
you.
is 4 successes because again I put the +1
I
on
see
the end
it,
of
I
the.
see it.
Yeah.
So. What is your overall goal with what you're saying to him?
What's my overall goal with what I'm saying to him? I am my Harald's overall goal here is suggesting that perhaps, just perhaps, Sir Walter's here might better serve this isle and himself as Lord Walters. That perhaps somebody who is familiar with Lord Defiro's domain, and, by extension, the rest of the island, and moreover who is not terribly close to the beast, might be one who better serves the domain.
Sir Walters looks to speak, but pauses and thinks, and his expression goes from one of casual, for all intents and purposes, casual conversation, making polite, to one of a stern focus, like he's really thinking about something. Something that might frustrate him, but it's emblematic of that moment where one tries to rationalize something and then tries to make rational something that is purely irrational. Like the bond that binds him to Lord Defiro, telling him that, no, you probably shouldn't be thinking this. This is bad. This is against the one we care about. And the logical side of the brain going, Lord Defiro's kind of being a cock. So, with that said, as you're walking with him and it goes quiet, it gives you, Harald and Eudocia, a moment to glance around, taking their focus off of a pattern of walking they likely already know. And they do catch sight of someone, and that someone also catches sight of them. As Lorenzo, you do know who Sir Walters is. He was in your little introduction. And it's curious that he's escorting 2 individuals of notably standing out ever so slightly with long white hair, and the other with almost shameless revealing of shoulders and the start of clavage. That's... You pause with your cane, and Antoinette stops with you. Do you wish to approach these individuals? They're not walking terribly fast. You could walk with them, though. You'd be more at a brisk pace compared to them. Thankfully, you don't have to breathe to keep up.
Yeah. Good evening, Sir Walters.
Sir Walters, in his moment of not even realizing you're there, sort of snaps to and puts on that very prize-winning smile as he stops 1 foot then the other and turns, offers a 1/3 bow. Ah, Sir Augustino. Forgive me, I was deep in thoughts. We were speaking of academics. He says, looks over to the other two. Sir Augustino, this is Sir Kroll and Lady Bringus. They are of Lady Dominique's family. They bring with them honor and he kind of looks over Eudocia and wiles, as well as quite a bit of thought. Forgive me, they were trying my more militaristic brain with varying degrees of lordship concepts.
I do enjoy a good bout of philosophizing myself.
And
Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
with that,
And
he
Lorenzo
will he will step aside a little bit and offer a breach and introductions.
Yeah, Eudocia would hold out her hand with a pleasant smile. And, a pleasure to meet you.
A pleasure to meet you as well. And he'll awkwardly shake the hand.
Eudocia will chuckle before pulling her hand back.
To note as well, just over Lorenzo's shoulder is that woman, who stands quite a good steps back, but seems to be more there to watch than to participate in the pleasantries. Harald, do you introduce yourself as well?
Sorry, I was typing there for a second. But, Harald is gonna give Lorenzo a look up and down for a moment and just...
You would notice that his left leg is horribly shaped. Like there's a bend in the shin where there's not supposed to be a bend.
Fucking oof, my guy.
Birth defect, am I right?
He just
Yes.
started and he's already a step behind.
Yep. That's why he's leaning so hard on his cane.
But does Harald introduce himself then?
Yeah, sorry, I've been...
Stop typing, start talking.
Brain doesn't want to fucking function at the
That's
moment.
The mood.
Head empty, no thoughts.
But he just gives Lorenzo the up and down and just gives a nod of his head.
Quiet type, I see.
So Walter's introduced you as Sir Augustino.
It
Not a
is,
title that I'm usually called.
it is used for, in this case, specific individuals of Lord Dofiero's domain.
See,
Like yourselves.
understandable.
If you wish to accompany, I will admit that having an academic and his follower would potentially keep Lord Defiero from needless outbursts. As
Brew we would make.
he is already on edge about the fact that you went to another's city so boldly without informing him of why. And normally I would brush such things off, but it's hard when his force of will is quite palpable.
I see.
Perhaps claiming to be weak of heart, Sir Walters. I did not expect this.
I'm sorry, claiming what?
To be weak of heart. She's poking fun though, like she's smiling. Because like obviously he knows that it's not a like an option for him to resist. And so she's
Yes, well, when it comes to his capabilities, they are similar to yours and your sire's, or your matrons. They can work into my mind a little easier, and well, sometimes they are not kind. They're never malicious to me, but regardless, I'm sure you will pay off those, what do they call them? Debts? The one, he says this looking to Lorenzo. The small debts that you incurred on the previous evening.
Yes. I owe him some minor boons for the stay last night.
I see.
The lodgings were satisfactory. Thank you.
Of course. He pauses, thinks. Would say live to serve, but the serving days have long since passed. We live to ensure the comfortability of those of status. Well, we should hurry. We've dawdled enough. And with that, he will turn and start walking toward Lord DeFiro's haven, or at least the place where he meets people. Does everyone follow suit?
Eudocia is kind of chuckling to herself
Yeah.
as she follows behind.
I mean,
It seems we've been lumped together in this.
we take what is given.
I could always use more companionship. As much as I adore Harald, Corbus can be a little much from time to time. A new perspective in our little group would be a welcome diversion.
See,
Would it be impertinent? Would it be impertinent, Lorenzo? Was it?
I don't know if my mic picked that up, but I said, indeed, Lorenzo is my name.
Okay. Yes. Then would it be impertinent, Lorenzo, to ask whom your sire is and of what lineage they are?
Perhaps not here and in the streets, but later.
Of course. Of course.
And with that, we'll actually switch over to Corbus real quick. As Corbus, you were making your way out of Sardes from the northeast end, correct?
Yes. He's taking the road, of course. No need to tempt danger that need not be tempted.
Oh, but tempting danger's fun! Alright, so you're going through the next town over. Notably, I did not name the towns because they're not terribly important, except for the ones where the Kindred are staying. So, Marina, Sardes, and Plaka. Modros is obviously a little important because it's being fought over by the Cormac and the Kishnik clans, as it were. So, and Contia is a bit of supernatural presence. So that is why they are labeled. The other towns are just towns. I'm not going to bother giving them too much depth, but should you desire to investigate them further, if not just passing through, you may.
He has genuinely no strong feelings about the hobbles that dot along. If people come to him to speak or for guidance, he will speak to them, and he will of course pay his homage to the Lord. Any roadside shrines or other effigies to the cross, but otherwise.
Notably, from Sardes to the next town over, there are really no roadside shrines, though to be fair, it is only about 2 miles. But the moment you get even to the edge of this secondary town, you notice that it is almost embattlements of crosses and different Catholic effigies that sit on this edge of town, as if trying to ward off the more pagan ideologies of those out east. And the further along the road you go, you find more of these, specifically with crosses pointed towards the east or the southeast. Small scriptures of warning and worshipping demons or devils and that sort of stuff, and brimstone fire, you're going to burn. The normal don't do the bad thing or you go to hell scriptures. Myself not being terribly familiar with them, so I'm not trying to oversimplify them, but just to keep the passageway unobstructed with too much description.
Getting a lot of acts. A lot of act quotes.
Additionally, as you pass through the previous town, many people, though they would not stop you, they would walk with you and ask for your blessings, quite openly and quite prominently. A brief listening of various conversations of those as you approached before they would approach you in turn, is that the pagans have, corrupted or tempted the various youth of the town into coming out to the various hedonistic rituals of the Easterners of the Isle. So they're all a little on edge about it.
He will tell them that he is going to go forth, and he's going to find these pagans and to speak with them. But he reminds them of one crucial fact. If they find themselves threatened or not threatened, you don't even use that kind of language. If they find themselves adjacent to heretical action, their duty is to not draw arms. Their duty is to remove themselves from the situation and report the situation to the magister of the shire of which they dwell. And if their ruling magistrate feels that the heresy needs to be punished by official action, a garrison will be called to do so. To kill in self-righteousness is as much, if not more, of a sin than theirs, and to sin a right not make. So.
All right.
They have his blessing, but also his reminder to tread carefully and be godly, even in the face of opposition.
They are reasonably moved by the abode of confidence. If nothing else, though people in the world of darkness tend to be worse on principle compared to the real world that we all inhabit, they aren't looking to do awful things. They're just more willing to. And given the release of obligation to be the ones to, metaphorically speaking, pull that trigger, brings a notable lightening of tensions to those you speak to. Their eyes almost look like they're freed from the shackles of the things they've dwelled on, potentially having to kill someone, or worse, over likely weeks, if not months, of propagandistic ideologies spread through their own distrust of those of the East, as well as any number of potential supernatural things, as it would not be unheard of for Kishnik if someone went missing because of an accidental oversip, or Sir Boltier's nightly walks of enthusiasm, that he would simply blame those of the Eastern paganism. To that end, however, you have given them some alleviation of that stress, and you are thanked for it upon your leaving, though some do warn you to be careful. They are definitely, as much as they are not fans of the paganism, the pagans are not fans of them. So him walking right into them could be catastrophic for his health, to say the very least, and trying to be polite and not bring undue stress to Corbus himself. Though, your walk, it takes very little time all in all. Not much longer than going from Marina to Sardes to the next, the town next to Sardes to the next hovel over, just for Plaka, is quite calm. It's not dirty, it's not any more infested. It lacks trees, but that's simply because it's closer to rockier areas and more hilly outcroppings. But it's not any worse than traveling from Kishnik to Marina, or Marina to anywhere else in Lord Defiro's domain. It's not until you near this town that you start seeing the effects that the pagan ideologies have had, and they might meet expectations and they might be lowered expectations. As you near the town, you notice there are definitely more effigies of what can easily be defined as the old gods. And give me a wits theology, please. Difficulty 7.
One success.
It takes a few going by them, but they appear to be effigies to the specific old, at least by your standards and likely their standards, the old goddess of the hunt, Artemis. Also known, at least in passing, to be a protector of women, if I remember correctly. I believe there's a couple of goddesses like that, but I believe Artemis was a notable one. And at some of these effigies are animals of slaughter as well as animals of actual hunt. So there are deer as well as sow mixed together, showing a slight misinterpretation, potentially, of what Artemis stood for, as you near the town. And the moment you step across the
How
threshold...
archaic.
Excuse me?
Sorry. That's actually probably what Corbus is thinking. How archaic.
Indeed.
I mean, they dug up the oldest form they could find. Bards in this day and age.
You enter the threshold of the town, and there's the natural feeling of eyes starting towards you, because you aren't exactly subtle in your appearance of worship. But additionally, you find that there's almost a pressure, like walking from one pressure zone to another. like when one comes out of the shower and steps into their room. You get that, more like going from the room into the shower in this case, you get that pressure of like moisture. But in this case, instead of moisture, it feels like an overwhelming presence of sorts. Like something else is either watching you or sensing you in some way. And the villagers look at you, but at least at a glance, they don't actually look any worse off than those in the Kishnik domain. They're a little dirtier looking, but their clothes don't look really any better than those in the Kishnik domain. They look a little harder worked, in fact, but that's about it. The only other oddities are really the effigies. Everything seems to be moving along here like you would anywhere else.
Standard fare. And he'll make his way along. I mean, he has a goal. I mean, if he's once again he is stopped, he will speak to anyone who stops him. But I mean, he'll continue on, and he'll kind of keep an eye out to see how many religions they're kind of throwing together here.
At the very least, at this town, you're seeing a lot of the Artemis effigies, and it looks like wild boar and deer and other hunted animals, their heads mounted as raw trophies, not even, stuffed or anything, but raw trophies on certain buildings, and some of them look like they're hitting that we're rotting out at this point look, and you see one being pulled off its mount and taken out and thrown behind a building that borders the edge of town. So they at least know to get rid of them. However, give me a perception awareness check, please. Difficulty 8.
Or perception awareness?
Mm-hmm.
What aspects apply?
Aspects would apply.
Definitely on. I'm in a dangerous land right now. Successes.
As you're entering the edge of town, you feel prickling upon your skin. One that you could have simply said is the sensation you felt when you first entered, which, if they're practicing pagan magics, they might very well have magics. But something draws your attention to a woman, a very unattractive and ill-kept looking woman. Oh, need to also do that. Wait, right? One moment. Yes. Okay. There we are. She looks like a gravedigger. She has a less spade-shaped shovel, but she does have a shovel on her back. And she has a satchel that's in the artwork, you can barely see it, but there's a satchel on her that hangs from her shoulder that clinks as she walks, approaching you quite boldly. Her eyes droopy like she hasn't slept in weeks, and her skin pale and clammy looking. Her posture is hunched ever so slightly. Not like she has a hunchback, she just has poor posture. And her boots and the fringes of her coat are dried in some fresh mud as she leans up towards Corbus and doesn't quite block his path, but obviously keeps him from going forward as she squints at him. You smell different. Are you of... No. You're one of them, but you're not one of them. What are you?
I'm a man of God.
Yes, that's what I meant. One of them, but you don't reek like people.
Oh, kind of smirk. Are you saying that I do not smell like hard day's labor?
Even the most lordly of people smell a slight musk, a scent, something natural. But you, no, you smell stale, stiff. She leans a little closer and actually invades his bodily space. You smell like you've been dead for a long time. I would know. Yes, I would know. I have buried many a body, and after cleaning them, they smell like you. You're like the mistress, aren't you? Yes, I bet you are.
Do you mean Lady Cormac?
Mistress Cormac, yes. Yes.
We share a common ancestor.
Interesting. She sort of licks her lips, almost like she thinks you're tasty. Not in a I want to eat you way, but in a sick fascination sort of way. And the little metal brooch she has on her collar is of another Artemis-based effigy that has been crafted for her at some point. Why are you here? What brings you here? Why are you amongst us? You like your crosses, we like our hunters, our huntresses.
Yes, I have noticed your appreciation for Hellenistic religion.
And
I'm here to see Lady Cormac.
Oh, you wish to speak to the mister? Why didn't you say so?
Well, I was just making my way.
Should have found me first. Could have taken you to her easy instead of looking at all these filthies. Yes, she doesn't like it when people hang around the filthy. Come. I show you where she is. Plaka, yes. Still a long travel. Still a few miles. But I will take you to her. Get to see Sertanis. Sertanis. You like Sertanis?
In favor of the Sertanis?
Of course, it's Sertanis. Why wouldn't I favor him? You'll like him.
Tell me of your feelings of Sertanis as we walk.
Oh, his face. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's like looking at a painting, one that has been crafted over years and years of work from a single artist. There's a type of you, one of you who is stale. Yes, the stale ones. They get enthralled with the magics of art. I'm no artist. No, I just dig graves. Dig graves. And then make things, yes. Mix. But yes, Sertanis, he has a beautiful face, well crafted. Took time. Someone took time with it. From clay, one might even say. To quote your silly book. But yes. He is a beautiful man. Honorable even. He would not let someone turn their back on him. He will happily turn them around and beat them, making sure their faces are caved in. No one can be prettier than Sertanis. No. Yes, but yes, we will go to Satanas. He will introduce you to Mistress Cormac. She doesn't like it when I approach, at least not directly. She comes to me, she finds me, yes. Useful. I try to be useful to her.
Have you considered trying to marry this Satanas?
Me? No. No, couldn't. No, too low. Lower than dirt, lower than worms, lower than the shit of worms. Yes. No, couldn't do that.
You should not think so disparagingly of yourself.
Oh, no, facts. It ensures order that we have these ranks. Yes. Castes. Understanding of where one belongs. It breeds order. Yes.
You call my book silly.
Mm-hmm.
But then you submit yourself to unjust law.
It is just as unjust as one claiming that they have law within a book. Why would you have a law in a book? A law is of the people, not a book. Book doesn't decide law. That's silly.
No, the men in the book put forth law. And
Yes.
the law of your land is no doubt in the book.
No. It is
It is
spoken.
the law of most lands.
It is spoken.
What is in the book is spoken. If I read it to you out loud, I would be as no different as if I had memorized it, as I have. You could take my copy, and you could burn it now, and I could read you any page from memory. Does that not make it from my mouth?
No.
Does that not make the law legitimate?
They are not made by you. They are accepted by you. They are taught by you as if they are you, but they are not you. No. That
And the
makes
laws
no
are not
sense.
yours. You accepted them, but you did not create them.
No, they are made by Mistress Cormac, and Mistress Cormac is strong, beautiful. Oh, she is terrifying.
She is following Hellenistic religion. I have a strong doubt that is hardly of her creation.
The laws are. She simply worships and showed people how the old ways lived. Yes. They don't have to live that way. They just the laws though. The laws are her own making. The laws don't come from Artemis. The goddess Artemis just provides us an idea of how to live freely and without worry and consideration for life and nature. and the hunts are always on the hunt.
You should have already lived in consideration for life and nature.
No. I did, but I am the one who had to dig, who dug, who brought bodies, cleaned them, and showed them, and then put them in the ground to ensure that they went back to nature. But not everyone was like that. No. Not everyone thought that way. And then Lady Cormac came. Mistress, she showed them. She showed them how it worked. They didn't have to abide, but they did. She was brilliant. She taught them power and strength. The priest didn't like that. He was like you. Well, not like you. He was not stale. He was very adamant that her ways would only bring distraught and destruction. But look, we still live. Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
It is not of your flesh he was concerned, but of your soul.
Maybe, possibly. I don't know. I don't see souls. Souls are. She pauses for a moment and thinks irrelevant. They don't help with the hunt or anything. They simply are there when you're gone. That's it. They don't do anything. No.
My poor child. I have hurt you so. And I do not know who has hurt you, and I will not press.
With that said,
But God is gracious and compassionate, and if he will not turn his face from you if you return to him, even when you are dead.
Silly bookman. She mutters one last time, though after that goes into just sort of a consistent rambling to herself about you. More just sort of commenting on things that describe you, but not... It's not like she's actually talking to you. She's just rambling for the rest of the walk. And with that, we'll quickly slide back to our other group. Dear Bread of Moor, dear Eudocia, and dear Vazrik, aka Lorenzo.
I'm alive.
Oh, good. You didn't die that time. That's wonderful. So, the three of you arrive back at Lord Defiro's estate, to which he is actively waiting outside this time. I will not move you to that map because this is a fairly short scene, but, well, should be. You might extend it, who knows? Lord Defiro stands without the mysterious black-eyed archer this time, and Sir Walters approaches, gives a full honor bow as the three of you come behind, and his eyes squint, seeing Lorenzo there, but he seems to keep his composure. Lord Defiro, I bring you Lady Bringus, Sir Kroll, and Sir Augustine. They are here to, two of them are here at your beckoning. Augustino, I think, might have some small business of you. Forgive me, I simply wish to be polite as we are passing through. That is fine. I appreciate your rapid return, Lady Bringus, Sir Kroll, and Sir Augustino for accompanying them, though Augustino seems to be taking the place of Thunmer. Where is Thunmer? My lord should not be absent from such requests of approach.
I believe he is handling matters of the faith elsewhere on the Isle.
And where might that be?
Eudocia would give him a very deep bow, apologetically dipping her head, and straightens up with a small bounce as she folds her hands in front of her. My apologies, Lord Defiro. He did not inform us much, other than that he saw the poor people in Sardes and wished to spread the good word across the land, as he was informed of the unfortunate spread of paganism. He wished to have accompanied us, but he felt this was his duty, and it needed to be rectified rather quickly.
Give me manipulation subterfuge, difficulty 7, please, Eudocia.
I'm going to spend a willpower on this as well.
That sounds like a smart idea.
Hey!
Gross.
Same.
Alright.
2 suck.
2 suck indeed. Lord Defiro's eyes narrow as she speaks, and he gives a glaring appraisal of her words. Drumming his fingers along. He has his arms crossed at this point. He's drumming his taloned fingers across one of his plates, clinking, echoing through the chamber. peculiar. I sense a slight change in your demeanor about such things. Or potentially you just respect his stance on it. Regardless, it sounds like him to do such. Were he not so important to the stability of Marina, I would... And he pauses and drifts off, taking his hand and waving it as if to wave the very thoughts away. Very well. In his doing so, he will likely be heading east into McCormick territory. I would ask that you take horse and go and pursue him. Ensure his safety. The pagans will likely attempt something upon his own life. And I wish to have the three of you here, and of course, Sir Agostino, here to enjoy a bit of reprieve from the stresses. I have some choice beverages specifically chosen out for your particular tastes, given your lineage, Lady Brinkus and Sir Kroll.
With all...
Sorry, you go ahead.
Alright. With all due respect, Lord Delfiro, I do not make a habit of overindulging.
On the other hand, Lord Delfiro, I am honored by your offering of this... Jesus Christ, my brain just shut off because I keep thinking that your name is Circle. Okay. On the other hand, Sir... Jesus Christ. I keep trying to say Circle. I keep trying to say Circle.
Can you not...
Sir Kroll. Circle.
Who?
What? Oh, you're talking about me?
Kroll. Yeah. Sir Kroll.
Sir...
Circle.
Jesus.
Oh my god.
Sir Kroll Circle? What in the...
Just say Harald. It's fine.
No, I don't want to say Herald. I just keep thinking about how it sounds like Circle and I can't say Lord of Bureau or whatever I was trying to say.
I obviously can't say that one on voice. Sorry, but I did DM that to you.
It's fine. I will look into that later. Please continue.
Okay, sorry. On the other hand, Lord Delfiro, I graciously accept your gift, as well as extend my deepest apologies for our rapid departure without informing you. We did not mean any disrespect toward you. It was unfortunate circumstances that rushed our expedition, as it was. We were hoping to solve this matter rather quickly, so you did not have to worry about it, and it would not reflect poorly on you as well.
Give me a manipulation etiquette for that one. Difficulty 6.
What the fuck? I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, no problem. Manipulation etiquette. That is... I'm gonna double check my etiquette points real quick, because I should... Yeah, I should be able to do this at Div 6, no problem. There should be... Good. Oh, thank God. Alright, yeah, we nailed that. We got it.
You watch as that glaring visage turns into almost a smug smile of shameless approval. his ego sufficiently stroked, his body puffs up even, and you watch as you can almost see his head expanding into the room. His demeanor shifting entirely. It is fine. You went with the best intentions, and I cannot refute such things. I did not doubt your loyalty. I simply had concerns that Kishnik was working dubiously from behind domain lines. I did not wish for harm or manipulation to fall upon your flesh or minds. Now that you have returned, however, my worries are swayed. I would like it if you two, and if I may, Sir Agostino, I would like to send you as well. Consider it paying off the overnight boon. Go find Corbus, ensure his safety within the Cormic domain. Present yourselves to Cormic. Let them know that Lord Defiro is here to ensure the safety of the entire Isle. No?
Of course, Lord Defiro. I expected nothing less of you, and I appreciate your concern for our safety. We will be more than happy to go quickly and accompany our companions in ensuring his safety and that of the island.
I will do this as you ask, Lord Defiro.
You are far too eager to accept such, but I suppose it is easy to accept such an easy boon. Do be careful. The pagans are no more accepting of your blood's practices than the Catholics. So be wary of such things.
I'm sorry, I have to say this. I heard the Bacons are no more accepting of these practices.
Bacon.
Bacon.
Pigs.
I hope they taste like bacon.
God, I hope so.
I hate all of you. Alright. Go ahead.
Eudocia would bow and say, "Of course, Lord Defiro. There is nothing more than I wish. There is nothing more that I wish to return to than your gracious visage."
Manipulation subterfuge again, please. This one difficulty 8.
Is that one a lie?
I mean, it's not an entire lie, but is it really difficulty 8 of Eudocia flirting with him?
Yes.
Alright, well, I'm gonna spend a willpower on that one as well.
Takes a lot to turn this
Damn
guy
it.
on.
I didn't need to spend the willpower, but it's fine. It's fine. It's worth it. It's worth it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's like one extra success on there.
Yeah.
Lord Defiro tilts his head and approaches, his gauntleted hand reaching out, and the tips of the talons gracing under Eudocia's chin as he leans a little closer, not quite into intimate space per se, but his eyes nearing hers. Careful, little fledgling. There are many things beyond the powers of the mind that the blood can perform. And I'd hate for you to take more physical damage than necessary.
Yo, he's into some shit.
Sorry.
Were you looking at private chat?
Like, completely lost in thought for a moment. I was like, is he trying to imply what I think he's trying to imply? And then, like, I read such as powers of the Venus would have just fucking killed me.
Potence is called potence for a reason. It applies to all strength checks.
Jesus
Lord
Christ.
Almighty. You heard it here, folks. Fertility is a strength check.
Venus and bacon.
Alright.
Yeah.
However, after he performs this, he does step back and offer a slight head bow. Very well. Then you may, the two of you, take 2 horses on request of mine. You will return them upon your returning here. Sir Augustino has paid for his in boon, so his is permanent, just to clear up any misconceptions. But please, go quickly. And with that, he will turn without even letting you reply and head back into his estate, with full expectation that you will do as he said.
Stroke his ego anymore.
So it seems I shall become your newest companion then.
So it would seem.
Quite the companion you seem to be. You already are earning and paying off your boons rather quickly. I am impressed.
Yes, I wish to pay them off as soon as I possibly can. I have far more important matters to deal with, after all. Although, I believe I have not told you yet of what exactly I am. Now that we are in a bit more of a private area, I'm a bit more comfortable speaking openly. I'm a Cappadocian, a necromancer.
Then I believe you will be getting along very well with Eudocia.
Ah. Eudocia.
For everybody
Why?
else. Why? Necromancer? Neck. Space. Romancer.
Is he making a funny joke?
He's making a funny, yes.
Give me that charisma expression difficulty 9, you pun-saturated fuck.
You want charisma expression diff 9 for a pun?
Yes.
Ah.
I
Alright.
can't wait to see Harald's
Let's see.
charisma and expression scores.
Let me tell you, it's not very good.
I would nail this. I would blow this out of the park.
Yeah, there we fucking go. That's about right.
Ooh.
Along with her. What is she, a necrophiliac? I'm joking. I won't actually say that. I wouldn't say
I
that.
mean-
I'm joking.
Oh, I was gonna say, cause she'd be like, well, I mean, I guess technically, I am fucking corpses.
By sheer
Are we
technicality.
corpses?
Yes.
Get into that philosophical debate. Yeah, Eudocia would just stare at Harald for a moment, trying to think, and then, Roman? Necromancer?
Yes. Yes.
It's, clever.
Do not pay
I
for
suppose it
anything.
does require a clever sort to be a necromancer. He's terribly awful in social interactions, by the way.
I can see that.
Clearly, you both are.
As Eudocia
Eudocia does look between the two and it's just like, well, you will, as I mentioned before, you will make this journey rather entertaining at the very least.
Listen, Nate picked the one social ability I have 0 dots in, alright?
Yeah, I figured. But
Making a joke land is an art, it's expression.
Fair point.
I am excited to journey with you Sir Agostino. It will be quite a pleasure, as well as I am interested in getting to know you better, as well as your shadowy companion here.
That is Antoinette. She's my mentor on behalf of my sire, as well as my bodyguard.
Curious.
Gorgeous name for such a gorgeous individual. I am elated to meet both of you.
She gives you a very slow blink and sort of looks off, and looks back. Yes, I am Antoinette Infernado. It is a pleasure to meet you. I am not one for conversation, and I am no better spoken than Lorenzo. I will not be with you terribly long once we leave this isle. However, if Lorenzo wishes to continue accompanying you, he may. I simply am here for a duty. Once that is fulfilled, I will wash my hands of you. So please, do not get attached.
Of course not.
Now, an important question for all of you. And Harald just kind of looks around the group. How many of you have ridden a horse before?
I have a horse of my own.
But are you familiar? Excuse me. But do you know how to ride it?
I am capable of riding a horse, but I'm afraid I have not had much experience in my life. The last time I rode a horse, I was a young teenager,
I see.
and I needed help getting onto the horse, of course, as you can see.
And from there he's going. And from there he's going to look between Eudocia and I guess Antoinette, if we're bringing Antoinette with us.
You see, venturing outside of the harem was not exactly something I was allowed to do.
Understood.
Outside of a carriage. I've never really even touched the horse before.
I
Understood.
can reasonably guide Lorenzo's horse if need be. Do not worry about such things.
Understood. We will be splitting the Lorenzo and I will be splitting the two of you between our horses.
I am more than elated to ride, to share a horse with you, Harald. Though above table, I pity that poor horse because this is going to be the chilliest
gonna
ride
be
of his life.
Yeah, that's the thing. Above table, my plan was to put okay, right quick, Vazrik. Does your character also have Touch of Frost?
No.
Okay.
Okay, good. Because
This
what I
is
was
going
gonna
to be a chilly boat ride.
Because what I was gonna do was I was gonna put if I had my druthers, I would put
However, I do have eerie presence.
Good, so we
That's
can't approach
fine.
these horses.
That's fine. I was gonna put Eudocia on Lorenzo's horse, and if Antoinette is coming with us, put Antoinette on Harald's horse.
Understandable. Logistically, yes, that makes sense. As for
Relationally, you want can I say that on Twitch? Yeah, whatever. Relationally, you want
I want to ride with Harald.
you want Eudocia to be in a position where she can ride with Harald.
All right. I'm gonna beat all you the horny bats at this
Also,
point.
I don't know how comfortable Antoinette is riding with a
However,
relative stranger. Plus,
I do need to make a roll for your horse.
abandoning her.
I've got Animal Ken, I think.
Oh no,
Let
it's
me double check
whether
that.
you actually start freezing your horse.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Fair
Maybe you
enough.
should invest in a thick blanket to put on the horse when she rides.
That's a fair point. I'm probably just gonna try
Well,
to.
yeah, the main issue
I'm
is
gonna-
Harald and I both have Frost of Touch, or Touch of
Yeah, I'm
Frost.
gonna
So if we
Touch of
ride
Frost.
together,
Listen, I'm at some point gonna leverage the fact that that Corbus over there has connection with the clan that is most well known for doing weird things to animals. To get a horse that isn't opposed to being very, very cold.
we use the Necromancer to raise a horse from the dead, and then it's a dead horse, and the cold will not bother it.
I'm
Nor
not
will your
quite
eerie
that
presence.
kind of necromancer.
I guess that's
Afraid.
also an option, but yeah.
All
you
right.
get the
So
fact?
stop.
Okay,
Stop.
sorry.
Stopping.
Okay. So good news, your horse is actually perfectly fine. It doesn't seem bothered with the fact that frost is forming on the bits of moisture that hang upon its fur. So that's
It's a
good.
Clydesdale.
You would not have a Clydesdale here. You have actually really small horses in this side of the world, the Strider style horses.
Yeah.
What?
'Cause they kind of like the cold.
So, you all will be hoofing your way
Huh.
to Cormac's territory.
Aha.
Should I start hitting the two halves of the coconut together?
No.
Yeah.
Clip, clop, clip, clop, clip, clop.
In the meantime, Corbus, you and your wonderful escorts do eventually reach Plaka.
Okay.
And are greeted by some guardsmen. Plaka being a little more uppity intense than the previous town you were in. Let me move you all the way to Plaka. Your witch lady waves them off and demanding that Sir Tanis come meet the new stale body. The guards give her a weird look, but nonetheless, one goes to fetch Sir Tanis.
Here right now?
Sorry. I'm eating sunflower seeds at the moment, and one of them got stuck. I couldn't crack it open. So. Getting that ready, okay. And a few minutes later, from the estate on, not really a hill, but the biggest building in the entire area, with even defensive walls around it, though they are poorly kept it seems, vines freely growing upon them, and various other vegetation starting to get close to the walls. A man approaches. He's not clad in hunks of armor like the Kishniks. He appears to be in some relatively fitted leather. He has a short sword on his back that is sits at an angle that would make it relatively easy to pull free, and he has a few pouches upon him, though those are the things you likely notice secondary as Sir Tanis enters your field of view. And he steps closer, and you realize the witch's comments on work of art might have been a little more literal than metaphorical, and less about how actually beautiful he was, and more the beauty of the work done to him. The fact that it was passable at all. as he appears to have a partially reconstructed face. He approaches you. He puts a hand to his chest and gives a slight head nod. Was informed. Sorry. 'Twas informed that we have a guest this evening.
Yes, Sir Thanos. I am Lord Corbus Thanma of the Isle. And of the Cloth. I'm here to meet the Lady Cormac.
I see. It's interesting you come this far east, but I'm not surprised. The mistress will be most displeased, but she will still meet with you.
And what, of course, would incite her displeasure?
Interaction of any sort that she did not deem was necessary. My mistress is not a kind woman, nor is she terribly reasonable, but she is strong. And she will happily deal with her frustrations after the fact. Come along. And with that, he turns and waves you along a little lazily.
And he will follow. Give me half a second. My phone alarm is going off, but it's on the other side of the room. Literally like 20 seconds.
You're fine.
I returned.
Welcome, welcome. That was much shorter than 20 seconds, but I will accept this. In the words of Smart Hulk, an absolute win. God bless. Alright. Zatannis leads you through town, half limping along, as others in town stare at you quite peculiarly. They're giving you not that they hate you look, but that almost scared look. Not so much of you, but what you might represent. What that could be, could that be anyone's guess, but... You march all the way to the other side of town, to his estates. The guards giving a, curious look, and he looks to them both and then waves them off. Go, find yourself a drink tonight. The mistress will be busy. And they both nod very abruptly and quickly scatter as he steps in and goes to the door. You enter into a loft area, which is dark, very dark, almost hard to almost as dark as night, but there are a few candles, but they seem to be placed in ways to cast very looming shadows. And on a pile of throws and large cushionings, some of which torn and ripped, sits a woman, if you want to call her that. Quite as barely clothed as the image implies. She lies back, her arms cast out on either side of her, long claws on her hands, though they don't appear to be that of Protean. They almost look like they were crafted that way by someone at some point. So likely excess of something from one of your kin at some point, unless she herself has vicissitude, which would not be entirely unheard of. Alas, she has one leg crossed over the other, her clothing looking like it hasn't been repaired or swapped out in God knows how long, though she does not reek of anything. Her head tilting, her pale skin and sharp eyes glinting in the light as she gives you a very polite but almost monstrous grin. That'll be enough for now, Sir Tanis. Please leave. Without a word, said Harris, turns and quickly makes leave. You are given your perch, Corbus.
Lady Cormac. A pleasure, honor, and with all dignity. I'm pleased that we could meet. May I sit?
Yes, sit for now. I do not want this meeting long, but you are at least presenting yourself in my domain, so I will permit this for the moment. Do not toy with such things as formalities. I find they eat up time more than I like, so please be blunt.
I'm Corbus Salmor of Clan Tzimisce, and I represent, of course, my role, the way of honor and the way of kings here in the territory. Second superior under, under Dominique, our confessor of the way, and the man of God. Lady Cormac, I understand that you and Lord Kishnik have some difficulties.
Oh, isn't that cute? Difficulties, is that how you put it? Is that how you put backstabbing our agreement? Oh, wow, I wouldn't have guessed. Let me put it bluntly. We agreed that Mortros would be mine. He could have all he wanted of the west side of the Isle. I would take all I owned of the east side. And then he went and made an agreement with Lord Defiro and decided that our agreement was null and void. So, if he wants to call it a disagreement and not a dishonorable backhanding of agreements, then by all means, he may do so. He obfuscates that which is the truth.
If I may, Lady Cormac, I do not believe that Lord Kishnik would have betrayed your deal willingly. Lord Defiro has the largest military garrison on the Isle manyfold, and has used his power to attempt to intimidate and, in honesty, successfully intimidate Lord Kishnik.
Lord Defiro weighs and leverages his military force against Lord Kishnik. What proof do you have of these?
I live in Lord Defiro's domain, and I am one of the 3 military governors. I have the proof because it is through me that he attempts to force this authority upon Lord Kishnik. The military governors, they meet in my villa.
Give me perception empathy, please.
Yes, of course.
Difficulty? 5.
She's show off. Does aspect still apply? Or no apply?
Yes.
Or already apply?
It can apply.
Hand it over.
Her intentions are malicious, but they are a facade. As she almost lunges forward, you're able to briefly keep your cool. Her hands lashing to either side of you and digging into the cushion as her face gets right up into yours, and you realize she has more than just the monstrous claws bestowed upon her. Her maw is not that of a normal canine. It is that of multiple teeth, akin to a shark. Long, jagged fangs jutting out from each centimeter of her gums. And her mouth even appears to open ever so slightly wider. Her eyes, though normal in composition to immortals, look animalistic in nature. She is not appearing close to her beast so much as embodying it, as her body leans into yours like a jaguar over the prey. A slight hiss of disapproval, in which you continue to leverage these things against him?
That's fine. I've not come here to intimidate you, Lady Cormac. In fact, quite the opposite. Lord the Hero needs to be dealt with for the longevity and survival of this island. He will not stop until he has achieved the total domination. But I fear everyone in this land will die before that dream of his is even close to being achieved. His ego and appetite outweighs his might manyfold. I believe he knew this, for he is cunning, and seeks to separate you and Kishnik so you cannot unite your strength and destroy him. I seek to turn it the other way. To undermine his attempts at underhanded and malicious tactics. As I said, I control a notable portion of his garrison.
And you would... She pauses, pulls back. The tearing of fabric can be heard as she tears open the two spots she had on either side of your head, of your body, of the cushion, and turns and swings her hand at a stone wall, clipping and cleaving. At this point you realize she has done this several times before. There are claw marks clearly embedded into the stone and wood here, easily clipping through it, showing off a likely an enhanced potence reliance. She heaves a moment and considers. Very well, then I would ask a thing of you, a man of cloth. I suspect and sense the kings within you, that of those who follow an honor-bound concept of order. I have been betrayed once already, and though I understand I can never fully keep that from happening again, for I know you are simply a pawn in Lord of Heroes' plans, and for that, we are going to have a bond of agreement. It will be no deeper than one, but I'd like some consolation of your trust. And she turns and approaches you more formally, reaching down and gently but very firmly grasping under your arm to lift you. Do you permit this?
Corbus would stand.
she reaches up and takes one of her claws, slicing open her wrist and willing the vitae to the tip. I will take a sip, you will take a sip, and in doing so you have my... And in short, requests that you take a sip and she takes a sip to ensure a blood bond between the two of you.
You will trust the blood of a Tzimisce in your veins.
I hold no ill will to those of the crafting sorts. I was given a blessing by one in exchange for other work before. I do not hold them wholeheartedly accountable for other atrocities they've done.
So it is, Lady Cormac. And then he will draw his dagger. He will cut his wrist. He will place his dagger in its sheath. To the oath.
To the earth. And she will take your wrist, so long as you take hers.
Yep.
And you will swap blood.
So blood point for blood point.
Indeed. You are both 1 point, so long as you have no flaws. 1 point blood bound to each other. She pulls back, licking her lips, doing you the courtesy of licking your wound shut, provided you didn't just gouge your wrist open.
Nope, he sliced it very gently, and he does the same to her. He, it's a strange mixture of gentle romance and quick chase, as the lick is done with a quickness, and so is the drink. He does not drag out the moment in the slightest, and drinks it as fast as he possibly can. He holds it in his mouth and swallows it with one gulp to not even drag out the sensation by milliseconds. But once it's done, he licks her wrist very gently and kind of maintains a soft grasp on it. He does not let go of her until she let go of him. Kind of refusing to break this steady, not quite intense, almost erotic eye contact.
Her eyes are just as intense as she, during this period, per the blood oath and its enthralling capacities, had her closer than most even intimate partners might accept. But she does let go and step back, seeming to embrace the euphoric desire, the euphoric sensations that come with exchanging direct vitae. Good, very good. Alright, so I will hear your plan more in depth. And at this point, you were interrupted briefly by someone knocking at the door. Her eyes narrow.
Corbus is narrow as well.
She will rush past him with an unnatural speed, swinging the doorway open. Who interrupts my already interrupted evening? And Satanas sits on the other side, his head bowed. Your lady, there's individuals, mistress, coming up the road on horseback. They are clearly from the Virus domain.
Cavalry here? Impossible.
Individuals, not military.
Corbus
Hey.
kind of narrow his eyes.
Only one of them looks even remotely equipped to actually be in combats. The others look to be a scholar, a whore, and some mysterious woman in robes.
Corbus's eyes will kind of twitch, gently.
She will
Maya.
turn around and squint at Corbus. And who cometh this way?
It sounds as if you'd... Well, actually, being totally honest. Oh my god, what was Daisy's character's name?
Ariadne.
Ariadne. It sounds as if Harald, Ariadne, and no one is approaching.
So they have your coterie, or companions, or associates.
Temporary companions, but I told them not to come. It was to Lord Tefira's domain to explain away my absence. We should tread carefully. He might have seen through them, and has leveraged disciplines against them.
You hear the unnatural, bestial growl from under her breath, but she seems to compose herself, not taking on the standard etiquette posture, but taking on a very more human appearance. She turns and stalks past Sertanus, who seems to release a breath of relief as she's not turned her claws upon him. She heads out with Tannis quickly coming up upon her flank. And does Corbus follow as well?
If allowed, yes. I mean, he is not going to allow her to be attacked in her own domain. Preposterous madness. An insult too great to bear.
And a quick recap for Eudocia. Lorenzo and Harald. As you came further east, you did see the effigies of the crosses with scriptures scribed onto them, either through parchments or etched in via stonecutter or whittle. And as you came closer to the first town, you found the effigies to Artemis. Can each of you give me a wits theology, please? Difficulty 7.
Okay.
Certainly can.
I can indeed. Also,
Said 7, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
that scared the shit out of me.
What the fuck, Harald?
Harald knows.
You just do 7.
Yes. Eudocia does not know.
The fuck, Eudocia.
Lorenzo, Harald, you both recognize the Artemis-flavored effigies and the carcasses of pig and doe and even hogs, more tusked in swine. On top of that, other creatures of normally hunters' value strewn across each of these effigies. Their bodies split and the blood extracted, as well as the various organs that can still be consumed. But their carcasses are left at the effigies as sort of a ward against more sensible ideas. Though, as with Corbus, passing through the town itself, it seems relatively normal. A little more hard hits from the... They do a little more manual labor than the average peasants, but they don't seem terribly any worse off than the Kishnik domain. You are not given the guidance of the witch, but you do see her upon the approach to Plaka. You do see a woman standing outside town watching your approach with a almost maniacal grin upon her face, her eyes wide in awe as you near, focusing very intensely on Lorenzo the closer you get. She sniffs at the air and grins even wider. Though her teeth are perfectly normal, I mean, all things considered normal, her grin seems far too wide for her face, like it's going to split her very skull open with how gleeful she is upon your nearing Plaka. She steps towards the horses, as naturally you can't really joust through the city. And she leans close to Lorenzo. You smell like all of you do. Are you stale? You're like the mistress. No. But you look stale. You look more like you belong at the earth. What is your name? I demand it.
One who asks my name, I would ask to give theirs first.
Paseva. Others call me the witch, but I am no witch. I am simply an apothecary. I dig holes, put people in them, ensure that they are properly cared for before they venture into the river Styx. Paseva, though, yes. The mistress, she is stale like you, but you have more staleness. You belong in Earth. Why are you not in Earth? Why do you look like this? Tell me.
Allow me to ask you, Paseva. Have you ever been to Contia?
No. I've only ever been here. Limnos. It is where I'm born and where I will dig my grave. Well, someone else will likely have to, but no. I might dig it beforehand. Let someone push me in? No. Only here. Only Limnos.
My condition is of no concern to you, but it is not contagious.
I don't care. That's not the concern. I want to know. Yes. The mistress, she comes. And with that, Paseva goes from gleefully joyous to learn more about Lorenzo to suddenly scampering away to hide in the dilapidated shadows of some area. And additionally, Sertanus is revealed to the likes of you all, as he follows behind a very feral-looking woman, and you all hear the closing of doorways and the shuttering of windows here as this, one moment, woman approaches. To head you off from approaching her estate, it appears, with a Corbus in the, I say far back relative to 3 people, as Tzimisce stops about 10 paces out from Lady Cormac. And Corbus, do you come straight to her flank? Or do
I
you
mean, Corbus is bold. He'll stroll right up next to her. He is no subservient relationship.
Her eyes narrow at each of you, her lips sealed tight, thin and uncompelling to those of more lustful desires. Her hair old and needing not so much a bath in cleanliness, but it is dry and almost brittle looking. Though her body is quite athletic in appearance, her garb shows such, though it is clearly in need of some repair over years of use. Her desire to rip you all from her domain seems to be strong, but she holds still. What brings you to Plaka, those of Defir? What brings you here to my home?
So did we end up doing the lesser freezing on the horses, or did we just do Harald and Eudocia on one and Lorenzo and
That was never
you're-
ever told. I assumed you were both on one horse.
Yeah, and the horse ended up being okay.
Yes.
Okay, so Harald and
Okay.
I are on the same horse?
Mm-hmm.
As just
Okay.
a small side note, Corbus kind of looks amongst the group, kind of counting them in his head, and he looks at confusion at Lorenzo, but for some reason, he looks at Eudocia with a look of almost utter shock. Like, for a moment, he can't believe that she's here. And as he looks at her, he looks back at Lord, Sir Tanis, and kind of gives him a look. Like he's trying to beam his disappointment at the disrespect he showed her, straight from his eyes, from his heart to his eyes, to Lord Tanis's eyes, before turning his attention back to them.
What disappointment specifically?
You're a whore.
Yeah,
Oh!
Rude.
Oh, that he called her a whore. Yes.
yes.
Give me that, charisma empathy.
Where's my empathy? Gotcha.
Alright. He seems to, regard you briefly before sort of, his gloved hand coming up and sort of tapping at his temple to the side of his face has clearly been cleaved off a few times. And sort of like pointing to his eye at that. As if trying to excuse his misinterpretation of them at a distance to his potentially bad vision, which, I mean, might be fair.
Okay, Corbus can accept that.
It's like, hey man, my eyes are fucking bad.
Look, man, I've had my face cleaved off like 13 times. Can you cut me some slack? To Corbus's eyes, this man has clearly had his face reattached several times, and not by a Tzimisce. There are various markings where it's been ripped off and reattached, and ripped off at another spot and reattached and sewn back on and healed back, and it looks like at some point someone took a chunk out of his very cheek and they had to put something there to bulge it out properly, and to say the least, it doesn't quite bulge out properly.
Poor man.
In the chat for him. But yeah, Eudocia would slide off of the horse, um, as daintily as possible. I assume she was side saddle, so using Harald and the horse for support, before giving Cormac a bow. My apologies, Lady Cormac. I do not wish to intrude. We were concerned about our friend Corbus's safety, as he was quite far from home, you see. Not that I do not distrust you, my lady, but
What?
Give me a manipulation subterfuge, please.
but we had heard of the pagan going on over here, and we're worried that some might lash out about your priest. Manipulation subterfuge?
Yes.
As of not why you're here. You don't care.
Difficulty 7.
I am going to use a willpower because
That is fair.
I guess I should have some hospital supplies.
Technically yes, but for things like this, against other players, I'll say no in this instance, just because it's a little chaotic. You might be a little more concerned of focusing your aspects on the person who has been notably shown to be a little more instinctual than conviction or conscience-based. Or, self-control based. What are we looking for?
Looking at Eudocia. She's doing the talking.
Alright.
looking to tell if she's lying or.
I'm using aura perception on you.
So,
Yeah.
I believe Eudocia was genuinely concerned about Corbus, but also,
Yeah.
Primary and secondary color is what I got here.
yes, obviously they're kindred, so we will say a little bit of pink, I'm not sure what else to put, because she's not being distrustful. She's just, because she has no reason to distrust McCormick. She's just explaining her reasoning, which is just only half truth.
Suspicious, anxious.
I don't know, would you say she's being a little anxious? Would that be accurate to her?
I mean, a little bit, as this woman looks like she could tear her to shreds if she makes the wrong move. So she's a little anxious / nervous.
That's hot.
But yeah, a little aroused. No, mostly just anxious.
Who have I invited to
Being
my
a
game?
little-
Yes, I'm so turned on by this woman who's going to potentially rip me apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she's hot, man.
There's people who aren't.
Right?
I don't need to be turned on by that. I need to be turned on by the fact she wants to drink my life essence.
That's pretty hot too. But back on track. She's mostly just kind of like she's being pretty genuine. Yeah, she did worry a little bit about Corbus because it was like a priest going into pagan territory to tell them that they're wrong. She was a little worried, little genuinely worried, a little anxious, meeting with Cormac for the first time because that is all woman, and Yeah, she's obviously, like, omitting some stuff, but she's not outright lying, you know?
So? um... Alright. McCormick stares at her for a long moment and then looks back at Corbus and sort of growls a little bit. Despite what Lord DeFiro and Kishnik might imply, my people don't just go out and kill those of the cloth. They don't like them, but they're not murderous. But I will relent that for the moment and say your concern was genuine. That you bring a knight with you. Who are you? She says, looking to the pale-haired knight.
What? I'm being called, actually. I need to step away for like 3 minutes. This was
he
very
asked
poor
what,
timing.
Herald's name was, but
No,
if you don't mind, Eudocia would quickly.
Yeah, that's fine.
him.
That's fine. I need to step away.
Yeah, no problem. Eudocia would seem a little flustered before quickly dipping her head. My apologies, Lady Cormac. I am Eudocia Bringus, and this is my companion, Harald Kroll, or Sir Kroll. He is, I bring him for my own protection, to be honest. Despite being of the blood, I do still fear for my safety from time to time of physical attack. It is more ease of mind for me. And our other companions, I bring Lorenzo, Agostino, and his mentor. They have accompanied us.
I see. She looks between each of you and then squints, seeming to focus on Eudocia for just a moment, and she steps a little closer, flexing her fingers. Sir Tannis said that there was a whore amongst you, but I see none. Her eyes turn back towards Corbus and then Tannis. She strides past, Tannis taking a moment to sort of take a half step back. Before he can do anything further, her claws are embedded into his skull as she slowly pulls back on his face, his screams echoing through the town, which has gone distinctly quiet. The flesh, not the bone, but the flesh is pulled back on the side of his face that has clearly been harmed before, showing a propensity for her to be right-handed. And blood starts to pour down his body as he screams and falls to his knees, a hand following him. Tannis, when you remark on those who approach us, you do not wrongfully tell me of their origin. You told me that we had a whore, and clearly we have a lady, a knight, a student, and admittedly one hard to depict. As the cries of him plead for her to stop, she rips her hands back, and the barely contained part of his face flaps free, revealing...
Corbus would try to step forward before she finishes mutilating his face. Speak up. Lady Cormac.
She pauses before ripping his face off again and looks over her shoulder.
He's a man who his face I am, as you know, talented in the healing arts, and his face being rented so many times has damaged his eyes. And to continue to damage his eyes would being to ensure that he continues to make these mistakes. So your punishment is an act of brutal sadism instead of an example of which he will learn. May I suggest something more reasonable to cement the pain of the lesson, but to not continue to weaken him and to ensure future mistakes based off of his past mistakes. Ensuring the cycle is to propagate in needless barbarism and sadism.
While this is going on, the face ripping, Eudocia would, I mean, she can't really grow paler than she already is, but she would quickly cover her mouth with one hand before turning away, and she would, well, actually, no, she does have Blush of Health. That's on all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she would grow paler. Yeah, she'd grow paler, turn away with a hand to her mouth as the other one, like, kind of grabs at Harald's cape, and she, like, looks as if she's about to puke. But she doesn't, but she looks like she's about to.
Eudocia, give me appearance empathy. And, Corbus.
I mean, she's not faking it.
Yeah, I'm not saying you are. That's why I said appearance empathy.
Okay.
Corbus, I need manipulation empathy as you're trying to...
Or her feelings.
Yes, you're trying to coerce some feeling out of her. Corbus, you're going to be at difficulty 8. Eudocia, difficulty 6, please. You're missing the part... You missed the part where... to Harald. Lady Cormac is currently a little annoyed that... I say a little... in euphemism. That her apparent ghoul misrepresented Eudocia as a whore, and as such is slowly getting his face peeled off by her claws. As Corbus is trying to convince her otherwise, and Eudocia is having a very vivid reaction to the act itself.
So I will say, Corbus is not trying to appeal to her emotions. He's trying to appeal to a sense that that this is wasteful, and that she should punish him in another way, of which he was going to suggest a way, but I didn't want to have to drag it out because he wants to kind of hook her in.
Then swap empathy for leadership.
Oh, the classic. What's the difficulty?
Still difficulty 8.
Not anymore, it ain't. He best merit.
I guess I also sort of...
A man of the
she
people.
doesn't look like she's about to puke, she looks more like she's about to cry. So her eyes are quote-unquote watering with blood, you know, as vampires do.
Her fingers still quite embedded in the screaming and howling Mr. Tanis.
Meanwhile, Harald is just watching this and thinking in his mind, should I steal this horse? Should I just make this my horse?
Keeping her fingers embedded in his face for the moment, she looks to Corbus as he speaks and glances to Eudocia's reaction. Ponders for a moment. Lorenzo, how are you reacting to all this?
Oh, I was typing up that right now.
No, speak it.
He is watching, but he doesn't really react.
You would say he's cold and arguably
Yeah.
disconnected.
He's cold and doesn't seem to care.
Delightful. Lady Cormac returns her gaze to Corbus. You have a precious few moments to convince me of something more appropriate than Sir. I forget. Is he properly a lord? Lord Thanma?
Yes, technically.
Yes. Okay. Lord Thanma.
A simple ritual. Not to motivate religious belief. There's been a permanent surrounding the doctrine and the mortification of the flesh. He says he steps forward. It is said in Corinthians 9:27, I chastise my body for its weakness and its failures with a self-scourging. Sometimes this is fasting. Sometimes it is prolonged meditation. But sometimes the weakness is so great, it must be rent from you with the whip. But you are not whipped by another. No, as a show of your piety and of your integrity, your convictions, you whip yourself. You beat yourself for your failures, to purge the sin and the weakness from your form. His body has failed him. And in return, his body has failed others. And he has accused Eudocia of a great sin. A great sin that in these papal states could be a threat to her life, and the life of her peers, and the life of her friends, and the life of her family. So for this, punishment must be grave. But, you know, you are a penitent man. I see it in your eyes. You showed regret. Do not fear, son. There's still something that can be done. And he will kind of look around and he'll see like a reed or a root or something nice and thin. Maybe a piece of thatch from one of the dilapidating buildings. He'll take it and he'll walk it back over. I would suggest something more formal, but for such an example. And then he would simply offer it, as if expecting him to just do it.
His hand shakily rises, and he takes the reed, his body quivering in pain as his not ocular alleviated eye looks to his mistress pleadingly. And her claws slowly retract, the pain still evident. As blood soaks them, she brings them to her mouth and licks them clean. By all means, Tzimisce. Let us see what the good book brings in lessons. Doff your chest pieces. Expose your back, your chest, and present to me your flagellation. Present to me the blood you will spill to ensure you learn your lesson. I wish to know that you are dedicated, heart, mind, body, and dare I say your soul to me. Tzimisce, with a both graceful, apologetic, fearful concerns, and mix of other emotions, glances from Lady Cormac to you, Corbus, as you have both alleviated his current stress, but alas, still applied another to him. And he nods shakily, unclasping his leather and letting it slide from his body, revealing a rather toned and well sculpted form, apt for fighting. And he takes the reeds, and with his face still bleating a little more subtly now, he begins to whip himself before you. Not screaming, but wincing and coughing out in pain as he takes no liberties in trying to lessen his affliction. He simply wants to be done with it, but knows if he tries to quicken it or lessen the whipping speed, he will, alas, bring her own, Lady Cormac's own wrath upon him once more. And that is where we will end for this evening. The coterie watching as a man whips himself with sharp, brittle reeds before his mistress, and others likely watching from their homes, crying out occasionally in pain as his skin tears.
Ah. I dropped my phone. I surprised myself.
I would rather beat myself. Like, I assume she's gonna be awfully cruel and make him do a psalm's worth, which is 100 times. But I would rather hit myself in the back 100 times with a reed than have someone literally tear my face off.
Point.
Yeah.
Like, Corbus kind of played it up there, to kind of, convince, to kind of sell it, but this is a far less severe punishment.
That said, if I were to impress the failure or to impress the gravity of my ghoul's failure upon a ghoul that I knew was vain as shit, I would absolutely mutilate the hell out of his face.
I mean, but his face is already mutilated to hell and back. In fact, her mutilation has been so thorough, it was very strongly implied to Corbus that is what has caused his blindness. His argument is that her punishment of failure, the method of which she punishes, ensures further failure. And very much was implying to her that her sadism makes her look weak.
I see.
So, that's Lady Cormac. What does everyone think?
Barely.
She's great.
She out here proving. I mean, Corbus doesn't need to make arguments, man. I know, no argument required. Hey, why don't you like pagans? I'm like, I don't know. You remember Lady Cormac? Yeah.
That is
paganism in this land. It was good for everyone, wasn't it? Yeah. The way they cowered in their homes.
She sounds about right for a metamorphosist. I don't know if she's actually a metamorphosist, but those are the vibes I'm getting.
Oh no, she is not. She is the result of someone's misinterpretation of her having an extra discipline and not being apt in her other disciplines as a certain clan.
Okay.
And for that, she was more or less disowned by her parent clan, thinking she a caitiff.
Okay.
So,
She gives me Path of the Savage vibes.
So she is a very bestial individual, though she is not giving off the beast is in control vibe. She's giving off she rides side by side with her beast quite prominently. But that is where we are ending for today. I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope you all enjoyed experiencing a little bit of Defiro in person for our Lorenzo individual, having some success against Defiro, and having Sir Walters on screen for, I believe, the first time, and meeting the Cormac domain. in all its wonderful glory, with the apothecary and the other ghoul. But we will get to more of that later. Thank you all for coming, my audience, my sweet, glorious morsels. We are going to end here, and I hope you all have a fantastic evening. Be safe. I'm going to, for you, Vazuk, because you have not been here on the other end of this, we usually have a debrief off screen to sort of ensure expectations are being met and people are enjoying themselves still. So please hold. Everyone else, have a great evening. Enjoy yourselves. And we will see you next time. I'm going to send you all